Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody, power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers. Let's go.
Hi everyone, this is Ringside Rain and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. And now, here is your host, Mark Martinez.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, Season 7. Yeah, do you believe that? I don't. Season 7, Episode 1 starts right now, and this might be the first year that we actually start with a spotlight, and it's just because. It's the time of the year. It's the time of the week. It's the time that we just start with a spotlight. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and man, I'm super excited to learn about, hear everything about, because I know nothing about Divo Dior. Yeah. Stumbled upon on Twitter. We did some, hello, how are you? Let's do this, let's do that. Got it all set up. Got very minimal notes taken care of. And you know that makes for the best podcast. It does. I am excited to have Divo on to hear all about wrestling, lifestyle, everything Divo is going to tell us about. But you know we have to pay the bills first. Collar and elbow, hats, hoodies, tees, all that cool stuff that Al Snow and his hooligans have down at Collar and Elbow. Please use our promo code, Can Crushers. All one word, capital C and Can, capital C and Crushers. You'll save 10% off of your order. Yeah, it's that easy. Can Crushers. It's your favorite wrestling podcast, so it's your favorite promo code when you buy stuff from Collar and Elbow. That's it. That's easy. Guys, you know where to find us. After 7 seasons, you know we're everywhere. I'm not going to say it a lot this year, but I'll say it once. Spotify, Google, iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon Prime, Farmers Only. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, that's where we are. It really is. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, slide into our DMs, calling all wrestlers, talents, referees. If you're listening to this because Divo said, holy shit, these guys are pretty cool, that means you're allowed to come on the podcast as well. Even if Divo didn't say, holy shit, these guys are pretty cool, and you're just listening to this because you found us, drop us a DM in any of those socials. Slide into our old-fashioned email, cancrusher69@gmail.com. Get set up. We want to hear your story. Be like Divo. Divo is number 1 this year. All right? Listen, nobody can touch Divo. Number 1, he slid in, did it right. Bada boom. Good to go. All right? Divo is it. You can only follow Divo now the rest of the year. But following Divo is the way to go. All right. Here comes Al Snow to tell you more about Collar and Elbow. Again, the promo code is Can Crushers. All one word, capital C and Can, capital C and Crushers. You'll save 10%. We come back. Divo's on the line, ready to tell us everything that Divo wants to talk about.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. 2 entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
This is Shalonce Royale. And if you're not listening to Can Crushers, like, what are you doing? You need to listen. You have to listen.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Guys, you heard how excited I am to talk to Divo Dior. It is just one of the podcasts, one of these interviews that you just have your head wrapped around. So the true women of class, Divo Dior, former women's champion, and a lot to come with that. But Divo, welcome to the show. How the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing quite amazing. Thank you for having me. This is my first time doing one of these.
And that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing within itself, because pat on the back for me to get a little gloat right there. But I am shocked that this is the first, because you are, and I'm going to say this nicely, you're interesting. People should be clamoring to have you on to talk wrestling and anything else, because you have a litany of things you're doing here, and we'll get to all of them.
And I have so much to share with you. Like I had told you before when we had messaged and communicated, nothing's off limits. I'm an open book. And if people want to know, I want them to know. That's how I am.
And that's what I like to hear. So before we get into that, how was your holidays? How was everything? Because I know you're a true fan of Christmas.
So the story behind that is I don't celebrate holidays. I don't decorate. I don't get into any type of spirit or anything. The way that I am is I take a very minimalistic approach. My grandma taught me best. She said, I make a ham, you eat the ham, that's Christmas. And that's how I am. I spend it with some friends, and then I watch their kids open presents, but I did nothing.
And I can't knock that. That is, to me, that is a great day. It really is. I don't consider you a Grinch, because you're not like hating on it or anything. You do the minimalistics, and that's what I want to be. Like, I don't need a tree. The family needs a tree. The family needs to do this, to do that. I don't need that. It is about just here's some presents, get out of my way. And I'm good. That's a good day for me. I like the ham too, but I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I really stopped celebrating holidays like that when I was around 15, when I had some things happen in life, and like, honestly say my life shifted, and I never really saw a point in, I'll be honest with you, I don't like to decorate for things, because I don't see a point in leaving something up for 2 weeks and then just having to take it all back down. That is too much work for me. Someone else can do it if they want to do
it. Yeah, you're right. And it's not essential. It really is not essential. I mean, everybody's busy in life. How many times if we're going to go back to old school, do we have people coming over treeing that looks at your tree, then you move on to the next house? That shit doesn't happen anymore. There's no reason to put one up just for you to stare at it for a month and call it great, because after it being up for 2 hours, the glow has left. So, yeah. I need a Divo shirt, I need a Divo hug, I need a Divo kiss, I need a Divo keychain. I need all this stuff, because I'm now the leader of the Divo fan club. That's question one, and I am on board. But let's get into wrestling. So way back, who introduced you to wrestling as a little Divo? You know, there's like, hey, you got to watch this. And was it mom, dad, Uncle Joe, Aunt Sandy? Like, who said this is your upbringing, essentially?
The very first person was my mom, because essentially a few people on her side of the family were in the business already. They had done small independent things. And it's just like I had always been around it. But then when her and my dad were together, my dad was just a mega fan, in the sense that they weren't together very long. But I remember being around 4 years old, my dad took me to a Raw, And ironically, my first Raw was the Edge and Lita live steak celebration.
Oh,
So
jeez Louise. Nothing
yeah,
like being thrown into a porno for wrestling right off the bat.
it was something. But my mom's side, like her cousins wrestled, her uncles. So I was always around it. And then as I got older, of course, I was a fan. I was typically more drawn to the different styles. I didn't really, with my dad, he didn't really introduce me to the American style at first. I watched a lot of old Japanese wrestling with him. Like he was big on making me watch The Great Muto when we watched, or things like that. And then like I had videos of my grandpa, ironically, being in the crowd at WCW in '75, I believe. And he's got this big afro in the front row. So it's just everyone's either been fans or been involved in some way. Like my dad was a security guard at PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. So every time they come through, he'd be a security guard for like Raw or whatever they did. I remember the one story he told me was when The Godfather came through, he gave him $500 and told him to go to the local strip club and find him some hoes.
No way.
Yes, so my dad got to pick out some hoes for Raw one time. So that was cool.
Dad knows pimping ain't easy then. Because he had to go. Legit had to go. This is awesome.
But that's also where I lead into like a lot of people don't know this about me, but my dad really wasn't a part of my life either. Because him and my mom had a bad falling out with their relationship. And a lot of people like ask my motivations of why I got into the business myself. And I was like, at the end of the day, I want to show people that, as we'll get into this, I want to show people that you can come from literally nothing and make yourself into something. So when I say that nothing's off the limits, I mean, ask me what you want and I will tell you. I think that's the best policy, to be completely honest, and that's how people get to know me, and that's how I'll grow as a person, because I can't grow if I don't allow myself to open up and forget the past and forgive it in a way, and then learn from that as well.
Yeah, that is amazing advice. Quickly here on Can Crushers, Divo, I'll tell you a story, and it kind of comes around the same way. My mom and dad had a tumultuous relationship, and it was. I lived with my mom when my mom and dad got divorced, and there was hate, and it was just so strong that I didn't see my dad for years. My mom then gets sick and passes, and I don't know if it was embedded into me from whatever, but my dad came to the funeral and he didn't need to. And, over these last 3 years, it's just, turning a blind eye to the past, starting a relationship all over and saying, hey, man, this is really cool that, he's older in life now, too. And if you've listened over the last couple of months, I damn well died over the last 2 weeks. But it's live day by day and take every memory that you can, from it being whatever. So I understand where you're coming from. I really do, and this is cool. So I told you prior to the show that I'm going to tell you I love you and all of this, and man, I already do, because this is going to, for starting the year off, this is a hell of an interview already, and we haven't even touched anything, so thank you.
Of course, like I said, open honesty is the best way to go, and I have nothing to hide, because honestly, at that point, I never say if, but when I make it to the big time, this is all going to come out eventually. Somebody's going to get pissed at me and try to leak it. So I might as well leak it myself.
Touche, yeah. F everybody else. You tell your story the way you want it to be told, instead of having some gossip queen on A&E or somebody saying, hey, this is what Divo did, and spinning it. I agree, man. I agree. All right, so we talked about some of, dad and like Japanese wrestling, but who did you kind of transition to as a youngster once you found the American style? Who did you like?
Trish Stratus was my main one. For some reason, my grandma constantly recounts to me that I was in love with Stephanie McMahon. And then, of course, Flair, Cena, and The Rock. Those are my top
I
5.
didn't see Cena. I didn't see Cena in you. I saw Flair. Everybody sees Flair, clearly, with your glitz and your glamour. I saw Trish with kind of like your mannerisms. And I was kind of stuck because I always do 3. And we're changing it up when I do them and everything. I was kind of stuck on the third one. But I didn't see why Cena. I mean, Cena, come on, everybody loves Cena. It's Cena. But why Cena? Because the other 2 I clearly see.
Honestly, as a kid, it was a spinner belt. My dad got me a replica spinner belt, and I don't know why, but I was in love with that thing. And then growing up, of course, you appreciate people's work ethic, and
Oh, yeah.
Cena's one of those people that I look up to, that he's a true transitional star. And whenever that time comes for me, that's what I want to do. Because I know that you can't do this forever. I will always be enamored in the business in some way. I've always told people that, whether it be I end my career with having a backstage job somewhere, I do something like that. But I also want to do outside ventures. Like, my goal in life is to be a champion on the big time, have a match at WrestleMania, have a talk show, create some type of brand deal with somebody, and most of all, have a very successful business. And I feel like Cena has touched on all, if not most of those things thus far. And along with him and The Rock and Flair, these are people that you know. Anybody knows those names when you say them. And damn it, I want someone to say Divo, and they don't just associate me with, well, he used to wrestle here. It's, oh, Divo, he did that movie. He had that brand deal. He has a damn good tequila. Just something like that.
Oh, you're having tequila now, too. Yeah, all right. Nice.
The sky's the limit with me.
That's a great way to go. So you saw all this as a youngster and everything. What, as you're trucking through, high school and everything in sports, and this is where you want to get some stories in. This is perfect. Like, did you do some sports in high school? Were you a drama kid like me? Were you on like the morning announcements like me? Like, I want to know how this all curated into you, and then that aha moment that you're going to wrestling school, because you're athletic, but you're very full as well. So I got to imagine there's got to be some drama in there too, right?
Ironically, I did some plays in high school, and then I had a drama class, but I never did anything beyond that.
Right, yeah,
Now,
that's roughly the same as I did. Yeah, so it's enough.
And this is going to be kind of a surprise. I played football my freshman year until I blew out my knee.
And then done. No more football after freshman year.
Yeah, because, see, I didn't. What annoyed me about that whole process was I didn't blow out my knee actually playing football. I blew out my knee going down for a squat on the weight. So, yeah, that was something. And I remember when it happened, because I went down for the squat. I had 225 on my back, and the minute I went down, all we heard was a pop. And I thought I was fine, so I came back up. I racked the weight, took them off the bar. I ended up going to the bathroom because my knee was really bothering me, and it's all swollen. And I texted a picture to my uncle, and I'm like, hey, this isn't normal, right? And he's like, no, go to your nurse. I go to my nurse, and ironically, this woman looks at me and goes, take some ibuprofen, you'll be fine, walk it off.
Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up having problems the next day because I was swollen like a balloon. We ended up getting a doctor's appointment, and my amazing doctor, Dr. Deborah Sinclair, down here, she helped me. She braced it, and I found out I tore all my cartilage and ligaments in my knee.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, it still gives me problems. I was braced for a good year.
Never surgery then? Did you have surgery?
No.
No, just in a brace for a year.
Yeah, that's what was odd to me about it, because she had told me, she said, I want you to avoid surgery, and we're going to try this brace. And the brace, all in all, has worked out. The only problem I have these days is I get fluid. And then depending on how long I go in the ring, it'll get a little swollen, but nothing beyond that.
Wow. That's great. That's great for you, because surgery adds to other complications, and maybe another surgery or something down the line. But no surgery. That's unbelievable. That's good. Good. So you did talk, and you don't need to get into like the naughty truth of it or anything, but mom and dad kind of had a little bit of an outing. So you brought up uncle, and he raised you a lot. Is this the time frame of when you're now progressing into, hey, I'm going into wrestling, and you're telling your uncle this first, or did you actually have all this conversations with mom too?
See, my whole family growing up knew that this is what I wanted. And like, let me get into a backstory of my childhood so people don't get too confused. My mom, after her and my dad separated, we moved back to Tennessee, and she ended up meeting my stepdad. Well, growing up in that household, it was very nuclear, to say the least. He had a stepdaughter. I won't name her name for her own privacy, because she wants nothing to do with the business or having her business out there. But he was a bad alcoholic. He was very abusive. My mom, she had that type of relationship where it affected all of us. And it was also like we were never good enough in a way, which growing up as a kid, you don't understand that. You don't know why it's happening the way it is. And with my stepdad, the way that he was with his drinking and abuse, he ended up going to prison when I was 9. My mom ended up losing her mother, had this big mental breakdown, and while my stepdad was in prison, she ended up meeting this other man that I thought was good for her. And he ended up being a real bad addict. And lead on down the road, like, I was in and out of my uncle's house a lot as a kid. And that's why I said that he essentially raised me, because he had to make those hard decisions for me when my mom couldn't. And when my mom got bad off on drugs when I was 15, I ended up getting put in foster care. And I spent 10 months in the system down here. Luckily, I got placed with a great family down in Jackson, Tennessee. I will always give Miss Jacqueline her props, because she was one of those that I can honestly say she was an angel, because she has adopted 13 kids out of the system. She's given them a chance. She'll tell you she has 15 kids in total, only 2 are biologically hers. And I spent 10 months in that system until my best friend from middle school and high school's parents legally adopted me. So that's how I got out of the system. And I'll tell you, if that didn't happen, I would have never got out of the system until I was 18. Because my mom, she just recently, like, we don't have the best relationship still, but we're trying. She went through this program called Transitions, where it was a year of a Christian-based rehab. She couldn't talk to men, couldn't have any outside communication with anybody besides close family. No music, no TV, and that's essentially what she needed to get clean. So after a battle for years, she finally got clean, and it's just like, now we're at that point in life where we're trying to repair, and it's not easy. And I want anybody to listen to this know that it's not an overnight thing. There's still things that we still have to work through, because she missed the key points of life, and she understands, but she doesn't. And then it's with me, I also have to understand to let go of that hurt and that anger, because it's not something that you need to harness. There's no point in being bitter, and part of your growth and walking through. And if I cry, I'm sorry. I've never been as open with people. Like, people always see me at shows and things, and I'm just very happy, but they don't know. And there's always that question of, why did you get into the business? Well, honestly, I want to show people that you can come literally nothing and make yourself into something. I want to pay off my grandma's house. I want to do enough in this business to know that I made some type of impact. Because if I could just inspire one kid to know that they can come from a drug addicted family and make something of themselves, I've done my job.
You did. I completely agree with you. Thank you for sharing. I have the chills. I have tears in my eye. It's I don't think anybody has ever been that candid on here before, Devo. That is just, they said we've had some rough lifestyles, or they said kind of what we hinted around, but you just laid everything out on the table and said, here, this is what I'm doing. This is my mom, my stepdad, my uncle, and essentially my best friends are now my brothers because the parents adopted me. Like this is unbelievable. And I get to a question all the time at the tail end, but you may have listened to a couple episodes or whatever. And I'm going to jump forward there and we'll just bounce all over the rest of the show. You have touched a child out there already. I mean, I don't know who it is, but at a wrestling show, have you being a badass or a goody two shoes or whatever, especially with your persona and life today, there is a child that said, I want to be like Devo when I grow up. Have it be a wrestler, have it be whatever. You've done that already. And I know that might be a tough pill to swallow because you don't see it yet, because maybe the child didn't come out and say anything yet. But how does that make you feel? Because you said once you do that, you kind of win. I feel you've already done that because I've seen clips of at least children looking at you and you see that little glimmer already. You've touched somebody already, Devo. And this getting out and telling your story is going to be a lot more. So that's awesome.
It feels like fulfillment in a way. I guess it's the best way to say it.
No, that's greatly put that way. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm trying to think of the words to say. I don't know how to put it. I think fulfillment is the word because I want people to know you can do anything. Like that saying of anything you can believe you can achieve is so true. So true.
Yeah, it really is. All right, let's reverse again. Get back on. I'm not pushing that over at all. Get back on wrestling a little bit. So when do you make that phone call or find that training camp or training school that you're like, hey, I'm going? And then this time, it's essentially, I know you're 18 and you're just getting out of like the foster and everything, right? But do you tell your foster parents, I'm getting into wrestling, and have it be because of my lineage that I have, or I'm doing this just for myself? Because it's a twofold. It sounds like both, Devo.
See, before I answer the question, I'll clear up something real quick. I got out of the system when I was 17.
Okay.
Early adoption, but the way it went was, I had wanted to do this for the longest. My adopted brother, Jonathan, he was an amateur wrestler, and then my adopted sister, Brianna, who is my best friend, she's the one who really pushed me. She's like, hey, there's some great schools around here. So ironically, before Corgan bought NWA, my first school was, I guess, a subsidiary of the NWA. And that was my first training contract. Was I signed a year. I had to have my mom there to co-sign. And it was with NWA. I was 17, my junior year of high school. And that's when I started training for this.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Lineage right to NWA already. That's unbelievable.
Which, it's not recognized as a part of NWA, but that's what the contract said. And I'll get into that as we go in.
Right.
And it was just one of those things that, like, that's ultimately why I picked, because the man running the school was Golden Boy Greg Anthony. He'd come highly recommended from some people that I knew.
Oh my God, that name is synonymous. There's, if you're an old school guy like I am, you know that name. You know Golden Boy. Yeah.
It worked until it didn't work. That's how I'll put it. I was there for a good 6 months. Personal issues aside, it just ended up not working out. But I will say, Greg was the first person to see beyond me wrestling, because that's what people don't understand is when I started, I hate to say it, I didn't want to be a wrestler. I didn't. I wanted to be a manager. because I was
we've had a
told,
couple on like that, but then you just get that transition and you get that bug. Sorry, go ahead.
you're fine, you're fine. I was told that I wouldn't be able to wrestle with my knee, and I had those doubts. But when I started training, I was like, this is easy. And then he was the first person that came to me and said, would you be interested in announcing? And honestly, I was told by multiple people, every opportunity you take it, no matter what, unless it compromises your personal values. And I was like, never done it, but I will try. He handed me a mic, and we spent 3 hours practicing introductions, and I made my debut that following day at a birthday party show as the ring announcer.
That's crazy. That's
And
a
see, with
crazy story, but that puts a smile on my face. The whole communications thing, anything with announcing, commentary, anything like that, he felt it in you. If 3 hours is a drop in a hat, so if you can get in 3 hours and you're doing it the next day, kudos to you.
And see, I did that with him for 6 months, and then I had I call him one of my brothers in the business. Like everyone says, you walk out of the business with 5 close people. Well, I would say Kid Wrestling, because I'm not going to put his real name out there.
Right.
Because I don't want anybody looking into him. But he is one of those people that ended up going to Burt Prentice. And if anybody knows Burt Prentice, they know he was a manager named Christopher Love, great promoter, all-time just amazing man. He went to Burt, and then I ended up going with him to a show. And I guess thanks to Kid Wrestling, trying to sneak his way into getting me somewhere. God forbid he can't let me do something on my own. Jokes aside, Bert comes up to me and he goes, hey, I heard you were an announcer. And I was like, I have. I've done some announcing. He goes, would you mind announcing for me? I was like, okay, I don't mind doing tonight. So he hands me a mic and he goes, cool, here you go. I did his show. And that's kind of really where my journey started. Because after that show, Bert hands me an envelope. And at this point, I had never been paid in wrestling. So I didn't know. I tried to give it back to him. And he goes, no, honey, you've earned it. You've earned it. And then he goes, by the way, would you like to join us? I was like, I'd love to. That's how the conversation went. Was I told him I'd love to. And he goes, well, I need you for this date, and this date. Welcome to the family. And that's how I started with Burt Prentice and USA Championship Wrestling. And the knowledge under Burt, like I said, if anybody knows him, he's highly regarded by multiple people in the business, like Mickey James, Michael Rapata, Lawler and him were very close. And thanks to Burt, I got to get on TV. I got to do everything that I wanted to do and meet some of the most amazing people ever. And that learning curve for me was it was astronomical because I'm 17 at the time. And I remember my 18th birthday, we were at the Omen Arena in Jackson, Tennessee. And I told Burt that I wanted to manage. And he told me, he said, if you're going to learn from the very best. But you're not going to start in the ring. You're going to start from the bottom. And a lot of people don't know this, but Burt had me start with his posters and selling tickets with his sister Marilyn. And then from there, I progressed. I helped him with his POs. And I was helping Burt with like TVs and stuff. And I was sitting there in his creative meetings. And from there, I learned some invaluable skills that you couldn't learn unless you were just thrown into it. And I will always say Burt Prentice is one of those people that truly began my journey of learning every aspect of the business, because Burt had told me that he wanted me to know every part so that if I needed a job, I would always have a job.
That sounds like Burt sounds. I don't know Burt personally, or even a little bit, but that sounds like somebody that is really looking out for you, knowing that he sees something in you in the business, and just it's right, because at any time in a match, a second later you could be done wrestling your whole life, but you could still be in the business if you know the backstage, if you can do the commentary and stuff like that. That means a lot, because even up around our neck of the woods up here, you are your camera, you're this, you're that, you're I don't want to say a bad word, but you're stuck at one thing. You're either commentary. If you can't be commentary today, but you can't be a manager, you can't be a this, you are this, and this. There's no, you learn the whole thing. It is, that's it. It's very regimented around Pennsylvania, and I don't like it that much. Way I want to change it, but I don't have the funds to buy a ring or do something like that yet. There's a lot in the hopper, but I won't release that yet. But go ahead.
See, and I will get to this. Rest in peace to Bert. He passed away last year from a long battle with cancer, and I will say he's one of those people that honestly helped along the way. Like, when that time comes, if I ever get inducted to some type of Hall of Fame, he'll be one of those names that I name, because he gave me that invaluable advice. He taught me a skill, and he told me to run with it, essentially. And for that, I'm forever grateful, because I have a very funny story behind working with Bert. If you'd like to hear some of those stories.
I do. Yes, I said this is your time. But before you get into a story with, because this is your time here for a second, before you get into a story with Bert, I want to know one thing, because everybody's like, holy shit, Mark hasn't asked the question yet. Who is Divo? Okay, so we've talked about some of it has been from Cena and this and that and this and that, but who else have you encompassed into yourself? Because if you go way back, and I don't know if you do tape study or how much tape study you did, I see a lot of Adrian Adonis in you as well. Like that's somebody that's really popped for me. Trish, of course, Trish was one, but talk about who Divo is and a little bit like that, then jump back into the Bert story, because I definitely want to hear a Bert story.
Divo is, that is this hard question. Just, I'll be honest, some days I fight with, am I too much different from this person that I am in the ring? But all in all, Divo is a kid that wanted it all, and someone that wouldn't stop working hard. Because I'll tell you now, when you hear the name Divo on a show, Devo's the first one there. Devo's the last one to leave. And Divo loves the finer things in life. I mean, it's simply that. I don't masquerade those fine things as much as I probably should, but it's something that I know I didn't have this growing up. And damn it, if I can make that a possibility, I'm going to make it a possibility, because I've worked so hard to get to this point. And a lot of these people that, you bring up the name Adrian Adonis. Ironically, I didn't know who Adrian Adonis was. And my person was Adrian Street, who I've actually got to connect with.
Another. I love Adrian Street as well. Okay. That one's even farther back. That's why I was shocked that you knew that one. Go ahead.
Ironically, Adrian Street texted me a couple of weeks back. And I'm not going to fully detail the full length of our conversation, but Adrian has bestowed the exotic name upon me.
Nice.
And told me to make that my own. So these are people that I've looked up to, and it's just like, I had this charisma and what people call this natural born talent. And that's what I want people to know. When you hear the name Divo, you know you're getting a show. You know you're getting something, because if I can't do one thing, I'll do another. I can literally do it all. I mean, I wouldn't say I do wrestling that great, but I've done it a few times. I may look like a lost flamingo in there sometimes, but damn it, if I can do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
As my sister has called me, Divo, keep a damn job, Dior.
Your sister's not wrong. Your sister's not wrong.
So, I mean, that, like I said, it's kind of a complex question, but it's not at the same time. But
Right.
The best way to sum it all up is, I am someone that when you hear the name, you associate it with the fact that this person has worked hard, whether you love them or hate them. And this person wears a whole lot of glittery eye makeup that sometimes gets in their eyes during matches and causes their eyes to water to the point where they're blind. But we're not going to get into that.
Divo, why are you crying in the middle of your matches? I'm not! The damn makeup's running my eyes.
Yeah. Tried to put on some eyeshadow the other night and stabbed myself in the eye with the damn brush. That was fun.
Maybe we need some help for Divo on that end, getting glamorous and beautified and everything, because good Lord, we don't need a blind Divo out there. All right, give me the story. I want to hear the Bert story. Now I'm clamoring. Now that everybody's gotten the who Divo is question, because I know that was going to be one of the first ones. Mark, you forgot to ask who the hell Divo is. Well, now we know. I want the stories. I love the backstories. Go ahead.
So ironically, when Bert had brought in Tommy Rich to one of our shows at the Omen Arena, and this is where my history lessons had failed me. I had heard the name Tommy Rich, but I wasn't exactly enamored with who Tommy Rich was. So I was announcing the show at the Omen Arena. I was trying to find out, where's Tommy Rich, because I wanted to get his basic info for when I announced him. I go up to this man, this older gentleman with blonde hair. You got to think, I'm looking at a poster. And it's just a group of guys around him. I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you know where Tommy Rich is?" And he goes, "No, I don't know who the hell that guy is, but you can go check the locker room." Turns out I was talking to Tommy Rich himself.
Yep, because that's what an old school son of a bitch like Tommy Rich would say. Yeah.
Well, here comes the funny part. After that interaction, and I find out it's him, we end up talking more, and we end up doing a lot more shows together. We're at the Omen Arena once again, and Tommy comes up to me and he goes, "Can you go find me a 5'4" blonde piece of you know what to entertain me?" And I'm like, "Tommy, what?" And he goes, "Well, we hear you're good with the ladies, and I don't mean in that sense, kid." And he just pats me on the back, and it's like the perfect time. And my friend Kid Wrestling's mom was there. She goes, "Now, what does he need someone like that for? To rub damn Ben Gay on his knees?"
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wake up, Mom.
It was a timeless moment that you had to be there for. Because I'll tell you, anytime that Tommy Rich is on your show, that is somebody that is going to, if someone is sad or upset or in a funk, you can't be around him. Because he's always eccentric. He always has these it's like amazing conversations with people. And he's a ribber. I would say Rich is a ribber. Whether he wants to say it or not, he will rib you. And it's amazing. And I've witnessed a few of them. And a lot of them I won't talk about because some people don't know that he did it. But he did it.
That's going to be in the book. Years down the line when Divo's done and he has to, he doesn't have to release a book, but he's going to release this, unfiltered book. Then those stories will come out, right? Because that's still making you money.
Maybe I'm working on the book right now.
Well, yeah, you could work on the book right now too, but you don't release it until later on, until much later on.
And maybe I'm just going to expose everybody in the book, like you said. Who knows?
Yeah.
Whatever gets me money.
It's the best part. You have to. Divo, don't lose your job. Yeah. Love your sister already. So let's talk about you've done everything with Bert, and he's essentially trained you. And now, how do we get to your first match? Let's talk first match. Let's talk a little bit about wrestling training as well. Was there any time in wrestling training you're like, oh shit, I really like this commentary stuff, I like this ring announcing stuff, I love this manager stuff. This wrestling training stuff is now a bunch of hoo-ha. It's rough.
See, while I was on the road with Bert, I was still getting in the ring and doing that, but I wasn't, I'll be the first one to admit, I wasn't full-time training like I was because I had stuck my guns to ring announcing. And then an opportunity came when we were in Dixon, Tennessee. Bert was having a holiday battle royal, and they just asked me would I like to be a part of it. So I'll send you a video later on because this is one of those unlisted videos I have on YouTube. But my first match was a holiday battle royal, and I was so scared. I didn't have anything proper to wear. I was literally in a pair of sweatpants, a t-shirt, and some Nikes.
Oh, God. That match.
And
Sorry. Yeah, I've seen talent, with my air quotes, having that match. Those are rough matches. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was in there for about 2 minutes, and when I got thrown out, I landed on this old lady's cane. And it was just like, it was just one of those things that some of the names that were in the match have gone on to do bigger things. Like Blake Christian was a part of that match, and a few other guys that I can't remember off the top of my head. Like I can see a face, but I can't put a name to it. So I apologize. But I just look back at that. I'm like, well, anytime someone asks me what my first match is, I'm just gonna tell them it was with Blake.
Yeah, I was in the ring with Blake Christian. Yep. Good to go. And they're like, oh my God, that's awesome for your first match. Oh yeah. Went 2-minute match, quick, beat the hell out of me, but I'm good.
In reality, we just like stared at each other for a good awkward silence. And he laughed when I got eliminated. We talked about that backstage. We all laughed, and they were like, "You were nervous as hell out there." I was like, "Yeah, I was."
So once you came out of the curtain, the nerves didn't go, because I hear a lot about you have those butterflies in the back, and the butterflies are still in the back even to this day, 5 years later, because that's good. You always should have butterflies. That's excitement and everything. But it turned to worse when you left the curtain for your first match, essentially, which you usually don't hear. You were just a bundle of crap, essentially.
Oh, yeah, because I wasn't announcing that night. So I was booked to do this Battle Royal. I thought I was ready. I was not ready. And ironically, during this time, because I wasn't very active in the ring, I put on a little bit of weight. And my sister says it best. That match I call my pregnant lesbian match, because that's what I was like, was a pregnant lesbian.
I clearly have to have your sister on the show just for the puns all the time. She's amazing. She's definitely your ride or die, isn't she? Like, she is. She's going to be your number one supporter, but if you go down the wrong path, she's just going to call you out, isn't she?
She already has a few times.
Yeah, see, I already said that, yeah.
See, before I started traveling with my boys, as I call them, my sister was my main travel partner beyond kid wrestling. And, like, she's been there. Any important match that I needed her there for, like, I can honestly say she's one person that has literally called off her job to be at one of my shows, and I appreciate that so much. She's one of those unsung heroes that, a lot of people don't acknowledge those people.
Yep.
And I have to acknowledge her for that simple fact that she's recorded, she's done whatever. At one point, there was talks of her actually training herself, because we were going to have her be my valet and manager, like have her be my Miss Linda.
No
and
way.
Sadly,
oh man.
Because see, a lot of people don't realize this. My sister is 6'3", and she is 200 and double-digit numbers pounds. So she's not a small girl. She's a big girl.
Yeah.
And she just has this presence about her that, with her being so tall and being so built like she is, that if she were to be at ringside with me as a heel persona, it would be believable. Like, you would think she'd mess somebody up.
Yeah. You just gave me the numbers, and I'm already scared to death of your sister. Maybe I don't want her on the podcast, because when I meet you, she'll slap me around. No, I'm okay. I love you, sis. I love you.
And see, the sad thing about it was the only thing that stopped her was she had a back surgery. So she couldn't get in there and do the training. And then she's about to have another back surgery because the first one had complications. So I'm like, I wish it could have happened the way that I wanted it to. But with her and her back, I don't want her getting in there and getting hurt again either.
Right. Yeah, it's sis. You don't want any begrudging injuries at all. So,
and
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, if she gets a bigger pop than me, then I may have to Tanya Harding her.
And it comes back around. Yeah. So let's talk about, how did you come up with Divo? How much is Divo truly, and we don't do real names on here, how much is Divo really you in the persona and everything like that? Because we talked about it, and I'm going to leak. Listen, you were a women's champion, downtown Bruno. We can get into all of this, but how much is Divo you?
Devo is that part of my life that living in the southern states as I did growing up, like you couldn't be flamboyant or anything down here. When I got into wrestling, I found a way to mix those two sides, and Devo has allowed me to truly explore who I am as a person. Like it's 100% me, amped up to a level that no one outside of the business has ever seen. And with my personality, as people say, and my charisma, it's helped me skyrocket to opportunities that people wouldn't even imagine in my area. Like this, I will say that the reason I love wrestling so much is this business has given me everything. I mean, it got me some work on Young Rock season 3, ironically, where I met downtown Bruno. It got me the opportunity to go. I was scouted by a few reality shows that I ended up not doing. It got me the opportunity, like I said, to now work with upcoming Impact, doing some ring crew stuff, and hopefully some and beyond that. It got me noticed by some people at OVW. Like
Do not say
Devo
his
is.
name. Do not say the guy's name that we've already talked about.
I'm not. Don't
Okay.
worry. Don't worry.
He already has gotten so much. I'm kidding. Daniel Spencer. Daniel effing Spencer. Go ahead. Sorry.
And see, like I just because the way that I grew up, I'm very much perfectionist in every light. Like if I mess up in a match, that's one of those things that that's what people say is their biggest like critique about me is I'm a perfectionist to the point that I could say it could hurt me in a way because I hate to mess up. For me, it has to be perfect, and I beat myself up about that. And I know I shouldn't, but it's one of those things that this was something that I worked days, hours, spent a lot of money out of pocket. I had this great lady in New York. She goes by Butch Diva on Instagram. It's Tiffany Rhodes. She custom made my gears. Her and Rick Cataldo, which is the boy diva, who is an amazing drag queen and professional wrestler. Like huge shout out to them. They're the reason why I have the elaborate outfits that I do. Like when people, that's what people think. They think that it's a gimmick. When I say that I've done the Hollywood route, I've done everything I could. I'm like, no, like it's legit. I got my gear made by a fashion designer. I did the Young Rock stuff. I've had other opportunities. Have there been things I've turned down? Absolutely. But my point is I want people to know this is authentically me. Are some points turned up to 100%? Absolutely. Like in my everyday life, do you see me walking around my house with a full face of makeup, holding a mini dog in my hand that, I'm just going to let this out there. One time I was holding the dog Chloe. She's a little miniature poodle and forgot I was holding her and had to take a bump while holding the poor dog. But that I have video of that. I'll show you that too.
I'm going to
But
have a
like,
ton to watch later on today. I'm excited.
yes, and it's just like back to the question. It's 100% me, but it's also 100% amped up. And I just want people to know when you know that Devo's on a show, Devo's going to give their all for a show.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about, the women's championship win, that title win was special to me because I was in this great angle with a very close person in my life. I grew up with her. She essentially, I don't, for wrestling wise, I credit Autumn Marie and Sexy Sarge O'Reilly for being the ones that trained me to wrestle. Because they got me in the ring, they saw the potential, they knew I could go, and they're the ones that taught me essentially. They took everything because I told them when I went to them and wanted to wrestle, I said, I want to start from the beginning. And that's what we did. And I can honestly say my first match under them was against Autumn, and we clicked. And as I watched back that footage, you could see the progression. And the way I say it is, if you're not cringing at your old matches, you're not progressing.
Yeah, exactly. Your Rumble, your Battle Royal. Look at the way that you just disregard that. But you grew from there.
And it's like this, because a lot of people don't realize this. Autumn and I were enamored in this angle for a whole year. That's how long this took to have this final moment where I won the title. And it was various things throughout the year. And it was special because Autumn wanted to showcase that I was more than what people thought. And I will say a lot of people discredit me for working with the women, but I tell people these women have hit me harder than the men ever thought of hitting me. Like, that's how I put it. These women have worked their butts off to get where they are. And with Autumn, she and Sarge taught me the business part that I was lacking. They taught me how to work a crowd, the psychology of it, how to tell a proper story. And I can honestly not thank them enough for that. So in a way, you can honestly thank Sexy Stars O'Reilly and Autumn Marie for Divo becoming a thing because they saw that in me and they pushed for it.
You brought up working the women and how some people disregard that, and I give all of them the big middle finger because that's not what we do around here, because I hate hate. So if you're anywhere near that and you don't support any of that, Mark will say it right now, I apologize. Go fuck yourself. This is not what we want in professional wrestling. Enjoy professional wrestling. Wrestling is for everybody. Go jump off a cliff. How much backlash, though? Sorry, I get on my high horse because I really get pet peeved about people that they book wrestling their own ways and everything, where Divo is a character in wrestling, and you have so many others. Listen, both Adrians we talked about got the hate back in the day as well. My son came out a couple years ago that he's gay, and we're transitioning through all of that with him. So yeah, it's not needed in life, let alone professional wrestling. But let's talk about you, okay? You said you get a lot of hate. Not hate, but I've now turned it into a hate session. I'm sorry, Devo. You get a lot of maybe backlash or something. What are you getting from people and so on and so forth?
I'm not going to say the show.
Yeah, don't. You don't have to give up names, details, or anything, but just a little.
I'm just going to go to it. I went with a friend to a show recently, and one of the guys there told me, their exact words were, "You have ruined your entire legacy because you have worked with these women and you have downplayed everything you've ever done, and no one can take you legitimately because of that." That's what I was told.
I'm shaking my head because I'm disgusted right now, Devo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for somebody like that saying something like that to you. It disgusts me.
It's one of those things where I've learned with a lot of these men, they hate the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm being successful in the aspect, and I'd chalk it up to jealousy. Honestly, sorry, can't talk today.
No, that's a great way of putting it. Go ahead.
It's just one of those things that I don't listen to them. Like, I tell everybody, I appreciate your input, but this is why I think you're wrong. And that's where I go from it, because it's the fact that, these women, a lot of these unsung heroes in the business that are women that I have worked with, they taught me things that the guys wouldn't bother with. Because, like, along with your son, I was outed at 15. It was a hard journey. And a lot of the guys, I'm not afraid to say, a lot of the guys in the business like strayed away from me because they essentially thought like I was discredited. I'm just going to put it like this. Since I got in, I have been discredited since day one. They thought I got in the business to sleep around. They thought I got in the business because I didn't care. They thought it was just me wanting the spotlight and things like that. And I'm like, it's not. So a lot of guys wouldn't give me the time of day, and they constantly trash me because of it. I've been told by multiple people that I wouldn't last. I don't belong. And ironically, half the people that told me the same thing are no longer working. And here I am 5 years later.
Good. Shine, Devo. Oh, my God. I don't want to continue to rant, but shine. I want to make this positive because, yes, I F everybody that thinks that they can't. I am so proud of you because of all of this. That's the main reason that I've contacted you, because I knew there was a story like that in you to come out and say, be who you are. I'm paraphrasing. Be who you are. Do what you want to do. Push. Be that star. It doesn't matter. You have a support system. Yes, These women are your support system. I love how you said that some of them hit harder than the guy that you were in the ring with. Yes. You don't need this hate. And I'm not just saying, I'm not just pointing to you, Divo. I'm saying to everybody in Can't Crush Your Nation, everybody listening across the world, you don't need this hate in your life anymore. It's 2023, folks. Grow the hell up. Just love life and live. That's all we really have to do on this world is be happy and take care of each other. If you don't like what Mark's doing, you don't like what Divo's doing, you don't like what my 16-year-old son Ethan is doing, turn around and look the other way. It's not hurting you. I love you, Divo.
And I love you guys too. And I love that I can do this. Because that's another point I want to bring up is, like I said, the same people that they essentially trashed me for working with the women mostly and doing what I did is like, those women have gave me a spotlight that I couldn't get anywhere else. And a part of that is those women, a part of working with them has given me the opportunity to work with Impact, the opportunity if I wanted to work with OVW. Like, I feel like I wouldn't have had that because Sue Young, when I met her and we formed a bond and a friendship, she told me one thing that I took to heart. You know, when she wasn't trying to drag me to the undead realm.
Yeah, I was going to say, was this prior to her dragging you to the undead world, or did she just drag you back and tell you and drag you back again?
Well, before I get this story, you know how I got out of going to the undead realm?
Probably because you look so damn good, but what was it?
That and I sacrificed a child. She wanted the innocent blood of a child. So I gave her that. And she said, "We're good for now. But if we meet in the ring, I'm going to drag you to the undead realm." And I was like, "Okay, I can save myself now, but later down the road, I'm toast."
Bring it all back to the very first question I've ever asked you about, hey, how was your Christmas? And you're like, oh, kids, essentially. There it is, all over. We're about an hour in, and we're still blaming everything on kids. Go ahead, sorry.
Children. So she had told me, she was like, honestly, I don't feel like there's anything like you in the business right now. And you have a look, you have the charisma, you have something different, and any locker room would be valuable enough to have you. And we got into talking about some other things. And ironically, she's the person that helped push me towards the Impact because she knew I had sent some stuff in. She knew I had met a few people there. But she's the one who got me in touch with Daniel. And I, you know, she probably don't want me to thank her, but I'm going to thank her for giving me that push because she also saw something that, I'll be honest, I didn't see in myself. And it ended up all working out in the end.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know, what is today's date? Today is the 2nd. You guys are listening to us on the 4th. And your Impact tapings are about 10 days away. So that's pretty awesome that they're really right on the cusp of everything. So I do know travel's a little bit tough. So tell everybody what you kind of started. If you can help out, this is greatly appreciated. This is something that all wrestlers, talent, promotion, referees, everybody has to deal with. And for this next big move for Divo, he might need a little help, right? And I know I'm going to drag this out of you, you son of a gun, because you don't want to say it. So tell everybody about your GoFundMe page.
Okay, I'll get into it. I essentially made it because, you know, times are tough, as everyone knows, and I just want to make it be seen. I've had a few people get negative about it. I put in there, if anybody were to read it, if you can't donate anything, I understand. Like, it's a tough time right now. Just please share it. But essentially, for me to get to Atlanta, I had the money saved up. I had a lot of things saved up for that. And then, you know, life happened and I ended up having to spend that money. So right now I'm kind of in a tough place trying to get to Atlanta. And if anyone could like help along with that journey, I appreciate it. If you can't, I understand, you know, life happens, but I'm just trying to turn this opportunity that I have with Impact into something like my goal out of this is to eventually work with the Knockouts division. great group of ladies they got there. I'd love to get in the ring with them because I feel like once I can do that, I'll not only learn so much invaluable knowledge that I don't know, because like they say in this business, you never stop learning.
Right.
But I'll have that moment in my life where it's my own personal fulfillment in a way. It's like everything of everybody telling me no and telling me I wouldn't last or I don't belong. It's like that would be the crowning moment of, well, I did it.
So if
And
you,
anyone else can too.
so if you guys can help, that's greatly appreciated. It is tagged down, of course, in the notes here of the podcast. But if you can't help, I am asking, just share it. Because you don't know who on your friends list or somebody that would see this and say, oh, hot damn, I do know this guy. I do know Divo. I do know what's going on. I can send in $5, $10, whatever. If you can't financially support Divo, share it. That means the world too. So I ask you that from my bottom of my heart.
And I will say this: you guys are gonna see me work with Impact no matter what. Because I'll be honest, if I gotta sell my dang TV, I'm gonna sell the dang TV to make it there. Nothing's gonna stop me from getting there.
Right, but
Because
it's just a little bit of help in your pocket then too. You'd like to eat when you're there, for the love of God, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the 25-cent pack of ramen would be nice.
Daniel Spencer, throw him a bone. You have a couple bucks. At least buy him a Whataburger or whatever. Yeah. God, he's going to hate me. I have been nothing but stirring the pot with him recently. All right, let's take a break from wrestling real quick. And let's find out, what's Divo like to do? There's no wrestling. There's no gym. There's no training or anything. What do you like to do outside of professional wrestling?
I'm a very boring person outside of wrestling. Not even gonna lie. If I'm not with Autumn and her kids, or with that side of the family, like with Charlie and all them, which is the father of Autumn's child, he's also a worker, great worker. By the way, I'm going to shout him out for this. Charlie Kingstone, love him to death. If I'm not with them or with Alex doing something, I'm sitting at home. I'm either reading, listening to some type of music, cleaning, or honestly, I watch a lot of footage of wrestling and I watch a lot of documentaries. Like, I'm one of those people that I'll go out and do things, but if I don't have to spend money, I'm not going to spend money.
Yes, that is my lifestyle. I agree. There's so many documentaries out there. Like, we're going to talk about this, me and my co-host, on Saturday. I just watched the Woo one of Ric Flair on Peacock, by far the best Ric Flair one out there, I think, right now. But I've also went back and I've just watched random documentaries of, I don't know, stuff that just documentaries on wrestling to people I've never even heard of. I agree. If I don't need to leave my house anymore, this pandemic, now that it's over, partially over, believe whatever you want's over, yeah. But when we were shut down, it was the greatest time of my life. I didn't have to go anywhere. I'm a bum. I love that. And I've just transitioned into being a bum. Work and documentaries and video games. That's my lifestyle.
I was saying, have you seen the China documentary that Vice ended up releasing with her mother?
Yeah.
That's another person that, if anybody didn't know, she impacted me a lot, because I had the pleasure of speaking with her a couple weeks before she passed, and she gave me some great advice.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, I still have those messages that I keep to myself. But like, she told me that, this business is not for everybody. Not everybody can do it. And the people that end up doing it, it's not easy. Like, she broke it down to me. It's not easy, but if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that stuck with me, because this was somebody that I ended up watching, afterwards during the fact. And she was very much a part of my formative years. Like, I will forever credit China as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. You know, she may not have been doing the things that the women are doing today, but you knew the name because she made some type of impact. And I hate that her legacy is diminished by some financial decisions she made later on and personal issues. I just like China to me is one of those people that she was a beacon of hope for a lot of women that wanted to watch this. There are a lot of people in the LGBT community, and she will forever be one of those people that I will always hold dear to my heart because, in a way, she gave that nudge for me to start as well.
Met her at a Pittsburgh Comic Con. I think it was 2 years before her passing. And my son didn't come, but my best friend's son did. And you want to talk about the true love of children. Like, it was me and John that were there, and we're like, oh my God, China. We wanted to give her a hug, and she was like so super, super amazing with us. And John's little boy clearly didn't remember China, wrestling or anything. He had, the action figure and everything like that. But he kind of like stood in the back behind us. She made a point to get us the hell out of the way to say hello to John's son. And that'll always stick with me because you don't have that with athletes to, superstars, anything. They're there, boom, bang, okay, peace out, get out of the way. She's kindly, she didn't tell us to shut up, but she kindly is like, and who's this little guy? And, the little guy was hiding. I don't want to bring up his name. Everybody knows him. But she made a point to come out from around the table and, physically touch him, hug him, and say, do you remember me, Dad and Uncle Mark talk about? And broke the ice instantly. And now he talks about, seeing China. A wonderful human being. And I echo what you said. For what happened in her, later on in time, financially and other things, she should not be remembered that way at all. In the wrestling business, outside the wrestling business, at all. Because she was, like you said, that glimmer of hope.
I miss her. I do. That's one person that I miss.
Yeah. Wrestling has changed from like when I was a little kid to all the time. So much has changed in wrestling. But, have it be from, your stereotypical, wrestlers to opening of the LGBTQ to just all of that. If you could change one more thing, because it's still dirty at times. If you could erase something that's still stuck in wrestling, what would you erase, Divo?
I want to erase the fact that people get blacklisted when they tell the truth about things that have happened.
Yes.
Like that. And when I say that, I mean, during speaking out, Candy Lee was a big person in helping me share my story about an assault that happened to me when I was 17. And I'll be honest, there was that time period for a year and a half that I say I did not work. I was essentially blacklisted myself. And that's something I've changed because these people that do this to the men and women of the business, I don't care if I piss people off by saying this, they don't belong in my business.
Right.
And that's how I feel. And I wish that people could be more open to sharing their experiences so people know, because a lot of what I've seen is when people do come out and tell their truth, they're silenced in a way because they never work again. And then if they do work, they never get to that scale that they want to. And I want that to change. I want people to be able to tell that truth and make people aware of these people and not have anything against them, because it's like they didn't ask for this to happen. And they should be able to make people aware, and there should be something done about it.
Agreed. Yes, there definitely should be something done about it. The scumbags, and I don't even want to get deeper into it, but these scumbags should just be eradicated from professional wrestling. Listen, I'm not in the business as you are or others are, but I think I'm part of the business because of what I try to do with this podcast. And when I hear that and I'm not even going to name a name. I don't want to make a fake name, but, promoter XYZ does this, and it just completely, it disgusts me. Like, I'm not one that people, I should say, die or anything, and you're really getting a lot out of me today, but an eye for an eye, is not enough. If it's hurting the business, if it's hurting another human being, you should be eradicated from life without getting canceled. I'll say it that way.
I agree, and that's how that's like my main pet peeve with everything. And I guess like beyond changing that, another thing that I would change is I hope that we can change the fact that in the South, where I've mostly worked, there's not a lot of women available. And I want to usher in, like, bringing in anywhere I've went, I've tried to push for a women's division. That's another thing. I want to show these young ladies that are coming up or have interest that you can train and do something. It's not impossible. I'd like to see more women working because, all of us can only go for so long.
Why do you think it is that there's not a lot of women working in the South? Because about a year or 2 years ago, I was talking to, and I still talk to these guys, NCWO, I'm going to blow it, or is it NWCO? Nonetheless, it's a promotion in Oklahoma because I don't have my notes right now. They were going through the same thing. There's not a lot of women coming out. They're putting on the same 2-3 matches around the whole state of Oklahoma because they just don't come out. What do you think it is with, down in Tennessee or anything? But I do know we actually, and I'm not saying we, there's a lot from Pennsylvania that travel down there every once in a while. But Tennessee has millions of federations though, right?
That's not even touching the number.
Okay.
See, I think the main problem with the southern area is women, like we mentioned earlier, women are not taken very seriously when they get into business. And everybody wants to make a woman just a valet. They don't want her to wrestle. And I'm like, no, let her wrestle.
Yeah.
Let her go. And I think that deters a lot of women as well, is they want to wrestle, but they're stuck doing one thing or another. And I can honestly say there's still a lot of people down here stuck in their ways, which I understand you can't change everybody, but they feel like women don't have a place in this business. Or they're mad because a girl gets booked on the card and she's making X amount of dollars when they're making X amount of dollars. I'm like, the reason why these women are bringing in the money that they're bringing is because in the South, I can honestly say it's scary. It's like a special feature match to have a girls match, and I hate for that. I want to change it where we can all make the money we want to make. We can all do what we want to do, but there's a place for everybody.
Yeah. Again, it's 2023. There needs to. It's not even a need anymore. A need is like I need a cup of coffee. It is there should be a place, and I'm a strong advocate that it shouldn't just be a one match anymore for women. Like if there's 8 matches on the card, okay, why can't it be 50-50? Why can't it be? I understand what you're saying that there's not enough, but bring some in. Minimum, guys. There should be at least 3 women's matches on a card anymore. If you've listened to Can Crushers, you know during pandemic time, I said it was Sasha, Bailey, Asuka, Britt, Thunder Rosa that carried us for that whole year. It wasn't Roman, Drew, Adam Cole, or anybody like that. They were telling the same stories. The women were doing the new stuff. That's what kept wrestling alive during the pandemic. Wake up.
You mentioned Thunder Rosa. That is another person that I owe so much to.
I love her. I don't know if you've seen, I have her tattooed on my sleeve, and when I met her at WrestleCade, she essentially beat the shit out of me because it was the first time I revealed that I had her tattoo logo on my sleeve, and she is like, this is unbelievable. I'm like, Thunder, this is what you do for wrestling community, wrestling women, everything. I said, you're an inspiration to everybody in this world. So, yeah, go ahead.
See, when I first met her, I was a little arrogant in my ways, and we had this lovely confrontational meeting where Miss Thunder Rosa decided to rip my rhinestone encrusted beautiful lip necklace from my neck and tell me I was a bitch. And then I proceeded to tell her, this is why Britt Baker is a better wrestler than you. And she chased me with a trash can. But I'll joke aside. She didn't have to do that segment with me, and that just speaks to the type of person that she is. That she wanted to push the character that I had.
Right.
That she did not only did that segment, but she fully let me take control. I'll send you the video later. Like, I have a few videos I got to send you now.
Yeah, I said I'm getting a ton.
I'll send you that video. Like, I was nervous, and you can just tell she took the lead with it. And she told me before we went into it that nothing is off limits with her. And she pushed me to do, she said, do what my heart felt that I thought my character would do. So I forever thank her for that too, because her and then Peter Avalon helped me a lot when I was first coming up. Like, all these people have formed who I am today. And I will always be thankful for them in that way because they gave me that push that I needed.
That's awesome. You have a lot of people in your corner. A lot of people in your corner. Me now kicking them all out of the way, being number one. But I do want to talk about, before we dive into a couple more questions and let you go, you brought up that you did some work on Young Rock. This I did not know. This you need to tell me. What do we need? What season? Where do I need to find you?
See, I did extra and stand-in work on season 3 of Young Rock. The season that's, I don't know if it's done airing right now or it's currently airing. I did the work that I did. It was long days, 14-hour days, but it was one of those experiences that it really got me to that Hollywood field. And it was great because it was my first official Hollywood job, was working on The Rock's TV show.
Nice.
And I don't know what I can talk about and can't talk about.
Yeah. No. Yeah, don't spill. Don't. Yeah, God, I don't want you being canceled or me being canceled or Young Rock, because I love the Young Rock. So yeah, don't be spilling too much. But that's awesome. Did you? And again, did you get to rub elbows with anybody?
That's where I met Downtown Bruno.
Okay.
First time I met him, I had a friend that actually got cast in the show. Since this has already aired, I can talk about that. He was cast as Nails, which, if anybody knows The Rock's history, that was a big part of The Rock joining the Nation for that heel turn. So I was there a part of that. I was ironically his stand-in for those scenes. And I will say this, Hollywood is very meticulous in how they do things. For the One Nation of Domination promo, we did that about 27 takes.
Oh my God.
I got to iconically recreate the Nation entrance when we were setting up the stand-in. Because, like, a lot of people don't know, stand-in are the people that help you get the camera shots that you need.
Yep.
So when I was doing that, I got to recreate that Nation entrance. I got to do the whole fist and, we are the Nation of Domination. It was just one of those great experiences. I'll never forget it. I had a lot of fun doing it. And they ironically have asked me to come back. It's just I've been so busy wrestling that I haven't got a chance to go back around and do it.
But you would in a heartbeat, right? You would in a heartbeat.
Well, I'll tell you, like I told them, as long as the checks keep clearing, I'm there.
Touche. Yeah, you send me all this money, I'll fly anywhere you want me to. Huh? I'll be the Rolex wearing. Yeah, you understand where I'm going to go with that. You've mentioned some people, but I do the dream match question, and I understand, and it should change, because I had Manny Fernandez on the show, and he's like, you know what, this should change every 6 months for a professional wrestler. So, my caveat, who's your dream match with? I want the stipulation and the where as well. And you can't say you can't say Madison Square Garden or, any of the big places. I want something like that means something to you.
See, I have two.
Okay. That's fine. You can have 20. As long as they're not
My two.
stupid. No, I'm kidding.
No, you're good. You're good. My two big ones. The first one would be, and if you ask anybody, everybody knows this, Mickey James, because I've had the chance to meet and connect with her on a personal level. I'm not going to go into what our conversation was, but I would say that at our taping, she was one of those she didn't have to. She sat with me for 2.5 hours. I got to meet her little boy. Her husband, Nick, used my knee pads for a match. It was pretty cool. And she's just someone I always looked up to. Like, if you look at my gears, the bell bottoms were inspired by her.
Yep.
And that's one person that if I could have that ideal match with her, I want it to be one-on-one. I want it to be a part of the last rodeo tour that she's doing.
I was going to say you could. You're going to Atlanta.
I want it to be for Impact.
Yeah.
Like, Mickey is the top person. Like, I have a special love in my heart for her because of what she has done for me and encouraged me to do as well. And then the second one is this probably throw people off, but it's Cody Rhodes.
I love Cody. Another person that's on my sleeve tattoo. I love the whole Rhodes family in general. But yeah, go ahead. You can tell your story about Cody.
I've always looked up to Cody. I had the biggest crush on Cody when I was a teenager. That's one person, like, just with his knowledge of the business and his in-ring work, that's somebody I want to work.
Nice. Any stipulations for either one of them?
I think the Mickey James match, since we made the joke that when she handed me the Knockouts title at the tapings that I am technically a former one-time Knockouts champion, I like to make that official and actually, sorry, Mickey, love you to death, kiss, kiss, but got to give you the kiss and the roll-up to win the Knockouts title.
Send her on her way, right?
Storybook ending.
Yeah. And Cody?
With Cody, I think a submission match would be fun with him.
Okay. All right. Anywhere special?
Like I said, Mickey, Impact, Cody. Honestly, I feel like if I were to get to that point any day, a takeover match with Cody, like an NXT takeover.
Oh, nice. I like that with Trips running the show. Yeah. All right. Or actually HBK, but yeah. All right. Well, let me ask you this. Did I miss anything that you want to tell everybody about? Where are you going to be? Because I do know you have, your Impact tapings, but there's another show you're pushing in February already. By the way, one of the greatest people that uses social media in wrestling right here. Listen, you idiots, if you don't follow him, you're stupid. Because not only does he share where he's going to be, he promotes other wrestlers too, which is awesome. He knows how to use social media. So, Divo, tell everybody about your social medias and where you're going to be and all that.
So my Instagram is One True Divo. That's, I don't post on there as much as I should. I normally just post in-match shots. My Facebook, if any fans or anybody wants to add me, any promoters, because I'm always looking for work, it's Divo Dior. My Twitter is The Official Divo, and it's just, upcoming bookings. I have Atlanta from January 12th to I believe the 15th, where I'm doing the Ring Crew stuff and hopefully more beyond that. I have TIWF in Trenton, Tennessee. I have some out-of-state bookings coming up. I have Euphoria, Mississippi on February 11th with Terry Boykin and Old School Championship Wrestling, where I'm hosting the first ever Devo Open Invitational, which is, as I told people, is an open to any woman in the crowd or in the back, anyone that decides to show up. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's your mom, your sister, your grandma, your cousins, dog walkers, owners, fiancés, maid. If you're a woman and you want to get in the ring with me, I will happily wrestle you.
I love that.
And then it's just like, I'm going to Texas in February along with Charlie Kingstone. I'm riding down there with him. I can't remember the date. Oh, God, this is terrible. I got to look at my calendar.
No, it's okay. You're going to put them all on your social medias anyway.
And then, I'm kind of, I don't know if I should put this out there, but I'm going to anyway. I'm kind of working towards getting booked across the pond right now for the summer.
What? Yes.
I got talked to about a pride show over there, so I'm going to see about trying to make that work. So hopefully everybody will see me in Manchester this summer if things go right.
Nice. That's huge. That's huge. I was just going to say, because you're knocking a lot of states off and everything like that, but what other goals do you have for, 2023 now?
I want to wrestle in another country. That's what I want.
Clearly. Manchester is definitely another country.
Yep. And I think, just my biggest thing is, I'd like to wrestle in the UK, and that's where Manchester comes in. I'd like to go to Mexico at least once. If not this year, in the next couple of years. And I think to round it off, I want to get signed this year. That's my biggest goal, is I want to get signed. Hopefully my work improves Impact enough where that happens. And if it doesn't happen, I'll just continue to work towards it.
There you go. Question I didn't ask when I should have. How much wrestling do you get to watch now, of AEW Impact? And I know you said you're like a homebody and you're doing studies, but I still imagine you doing old school studies. How much of the current product are you up on and everything?
So I hate to say this. I hate
None.
to say it like this.
Say it. Just say it. Just rip the Band-Aid off. None. Do it.
I don't. Well, actually, I watch, but sometimes, I'll be honest with you, if it doesn't interest me, I'll have it on as background noise while I'm folding laundry.
Hell, that's every wrestling fan, Devo.
And then
every wrestling fan. So there's no hate towards you.
The only show that I fully watch without doing anything is AEW. I'll watch Dynamite. I'll watch clips of Rampage. I'll cut on Raw on Mondays. Impact, of course, I keep up with Impact. Gail, hey, I need a job.
Right. Duh.
And then I keep up with a lot of independent wrestling too.
Yeah.
Because I like to. There's one thing, like you mentioned earlier, I like to promote as many wrestlers as I can, because I don't know if you've seen my post, but I tell everybody, I know that not everybody's going to make it, but if I can help push people forward to help them make it, it's never been a selfish gain for me in a way. I want to push anybody that I can, because I want everybody to have some type of platform. So I watch a lot of guys and girls, and I try to push their stuff forward too.
What was the number one thing that I told you why I love having this podcast? It's for independent wrestlers. Everybody knows the story of Randy Orton, The Miz, and da-da-da-da-da-da. If I can be that guy that gives Devo and, Bob Smith and Ashley whoever and this or that their time to tell a story, let them know their chance maybe to be heard by Daniel Spencer, Al Snow, Cody Rhodes, Stephanie McMahon. Yeah, that's what I want to be. So I understand. That's why I love independent wrestling. More so sometimes than AEW Impact or the WWE.
I love this business as a whole, and I want it to flourish. I think that's the long story short for me. I just want to see wrestling flourish and succeed.
Yep, I agree. All right, Devo. I've had an amazing time. This will not be, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't know when it's going to be, but this will not be the last time you hear from Devo this year. I promise you, Devo will make a return. If he's going across the pond, and let's all push him to go across the pond, we definitely want to have Devo back on to talk about the experience once you get back from across the pond. So, yes, this will not be Devo's only time on Can Crushers this year. We'll have him back on.
I'll be back. Just know when I win the Knockouts title, you'll be the first one to get the interview.
Yes. Yeah, make sure you have title in hand, okay? All is said and done. That it's a couple minutes after the match. Mickey has left the ring. And then Daniel Spencer raises your hand and you just fucking clock him with the belt. Then that would be amazing.
There's only one person that can touch this damn title, and that's me.
Right. That's right. Leave your hands off us, Daniel. Divo, I love you. Thank you for spending time with us today on Can Crushers.
Thank you for taking my podcast virginity.
That was awkward. Ladies and gentlemen, Divo Dior. Wow. Guys, you know, every year we have this thing called the Crushy Awards, and we have this one category called Can Crusher Interview of the Year. Yeah. We might have just had it, Season 7, Episode 1. Talk about letting it all out and talking about things and circumstances that could have held you back, yet you just power through. Unbelievable. Unbelievable way to start an interview season off. I'm delighted that I reached out to Divo and he got so excited to come on Can Crushers and talk about everything. This was awesome. We spent a lot of time after the interview as I pulled the fourth wall down, the curtain, whatever you want to call it, just talking, and we're going to keep each other's number for a while because he's a great human being. From talking about lifestyles and professional wrestling and all of that encapsulated into one, this was a pretty powerful interview for me, for him, and I hope for all of you guys listening too on Can Crushers. Divo, thank you. And you know what for. I said it when I hung out with you. I'll say it again. I love you. Guys, this is why I do the show. This is why I do it, for interviews like this, for impact like this, Impact Wrestling like that. No, for everything that you get out of it. It's awesome. If you want to be part of Can Crushers, and you have a story like this, like Divo did, cancrusher69@gmail.com. Drop us a letter, an email, whatever you want to call them. Slide into any of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Let's talk. We'll set something up. I can't wait to have you on the show. Because if you can impact somebody, like Divo knows that he impacted already, and he's humble, and he says he doesn't know if he did or he didn't. That's a lie. He did. That's what you do in life. And this is awesome. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called the garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Remember to tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know.